Welcome to our town hall. We're just giving everyone a few seconds to log in and transfer from other meetings. But happy Tuesday. And we're so excited to see new and familiar faces in the space. Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll get started. We have a lot to cover today. And so first, I just want to introduce myself and say happy Tuesday, good afternoon. My name is Cami Jones Friedrichs, and I am actually the co-chair of the Special Programming Committee. And on behalf of the IARSLCE board and the Special Programming Committee, I just want to welcome you to our IARSLCE Town Hall. Today, we are gathering to reflect on IARSLCE's achievements, as well as set the vision for 2025. This is quite an exciting moment for IARSLCE as we are entering our 25th anniversary. And so we're inviting all of our participants today to join us as we take a moment to reflect on our collective impact over the past quarter century, and also to consider how we chart our future in regards to inclusive directions for service learning community engagement. And one way that we are doing that is exploring the ways in which we can support each and every one of you in the field and providing a space for you to see what your pathway may be in regards to IARSLCE. We have so many opportunities for collective action work, and we're really excited that we'll have the opportunity to explore that today. So during today's town hall, you're going to hear from IARSLCE's leadership as they share their vision for the upcoming year and connect with committee representatives who will provide an overview of how you can become more involved in IARSLCE. The session is going to offer a lot of opportunities to engage today, and what a time to connect and collaborate and explore this work then in this space. You're going to be able to ask questions, so definitely use the chat if you have any questions. Our speakers will be able to answer them live. Some things may be saved to Q&A, but we really want to make sure that we have an essential conversation around shaping the future of this work in higher education. So if you have any questions, you can use the chat. And we'll also make sure that we try to get to as many questions as possible, and also hopefully help you with finding your pathway into IARSLCE. And so for those who are coming in, my name is Cami Jones. I am co-chair of the Special Programming Committee alongside with my dear colleague, Emily Falk, who's also co-chair and can't be here today because she just became a mom on Saturday. So she has a little baby. We have an IARSLCE baby. And she sends her best. She just texts because that's her. Just saying, I'm so sorry I can't be there. I'm there in spirit, but we're so excited that we have an IARSLCE baby. So she's not here, but I'll make sure that we have our contact information in the chat if you want to connect with us. And so with that being said, with this introduction, I am so excited to transition it to our IARSLCE leadership, Rochelle Smar and Stacey Muse, who will give you a little bit of an overview in regards to IARSLCE, what's on the horizon, as well as a little preview of some things that are happening with our programming and our conference, but we'll have a little more time later on in the session to talk about the 2025 conference. So, Rochelle?
Hello, hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thank you, Cami, very much for that overview and welcome from the special programming and just a really great introduction to the 25th anniversary year for IARSLCE. I am thrilled to be the chair. And I also have my co-chair here with me, Stacey Muse. But on behalf of all the visual learners, and I know that Cami told us not to, can I share a slide, Cami?
Oh, I don't care.
I know you want this to be very informal, but I need words to guide the work that I talk
I'm
about.
just a co-chair.
Hey, I would ramble without it. So I'm gonna just share my screen and just walk everyone through kind of the goals that Stacey and I shared with the board when we first kind of took on during the board retreat. So this might be familiar to many of the members. So for IARSLCE, the 25th year, as many of you longstanding members probably know, IARSLCE has maybe not an identity issue, but we need to identify our niche in the sense that we've often just been known for our conference, for our journal, for the practitioner scholar community, and grad SN. I don't know, my camera keeps changing. But we really want to know how we stand out amongst a crowd of many community engagement associations, both in the US and across the global network. And so we're working with the board this year to identify our niche. Like, what is our value proposition to our members, especially to our alliance institutions who are doing 2 and 3 year memberships, re ups each and every year for us. And then many of you know, we don't have a strategic plan. What is the guidance for IARSLCE going forward? We've had the reaffirmation statement. We've had a lot of mini kind of gathering moments for our association and our members, but what's the plan going forward? And we really want to do that first, starting with the board, identifying the niche, and then developing a 5 year plan that we hope to present at the conference and get our members feedback on. But if you don't go to the conference, that's totally fine. We have a full year and just about 6 months after we come back, not 6 months. 4 months after we come back from the conference, to reassess and get some feedback from our broader membership as well. But do know that this is on the horizon for us of like creating that 5 year plan so that you know what we're working toward at any given moment, as well. We're also working to reconfigure our different committees. We had a plethora of 12, and we've just consolidated and condensed and just tried to bring in some similarities across different committees into similar spaces. So one in particular, special programming. You might have heard of Dissertation Dish, Practitioner Scholar Community, the Global Research Agenda that Andy Furco began, but is also transitioned to Nicole Webster at Penn State. Those are smaller kind of IARSLCE entities, programs that we offer our members, but they were kind of floating out there. And so Stacy and I are like, why don't we consolidate them under special programming so they now have partners, co-conspirators in the work that they're doing to inform and provide professional development for our membership. And we've done that similarly with a couple of other committees, and you'll see some of that work as well. Cami said we'll talk about the conference later, but here are just my personal goal in numbers, that we want 250 attendees, majority coming from the global community, with 100 from the US. And we have already been reaching out to different networks and associations globally. And we're reached out to by a Latin American association about promoting the conference. So that's really great to hear that the word is getting out. We have a commitment to grad student network of growing that community. Matthias and Asuka have done really well these last few years, and going forward, Claire will continue the baton of making sure that students that are studying or doing research in their PhD programs around service learning and community engagement have a network. And so we're looking to amplify that network of what's the trajectory for them from going from graduate school into career. Is it faculty? Is it administration? Is it practitioner scholar? We really want to leverage our board guidance, our board leadership and seasoned skills that many of them have, as well as the members, to make sure that we're helping our grad student networks creatively launch their careers once they graduate. And one way we do that is through the dissertation dish as well. So thank you to both Lead California and GivePulse for being our partners in that. We're also looking to do board member contributions, and you're probably like, woof, that's rough, Rochelle. We're in a higher crunch of all the crunches. And I hear that and I understand that, but you might not know that all of our board members don't have a fiscal responsibility to the association, and many nonprofit boards have that. And we're not asking for a grand number from our board members, but just a small stake that they can have in ensuring that we never go back in the red, when it comes in terms of our finances, but that we're stay in the black, and that we're always making astute fiscal responsibility for our association as a whole, both as travel for our membership and offering different scholarships, but also for our board members who may not always have the financial support from their institutions to do the good work that they're doing with IARSLCE. So we want to make sure that we have a healthy balance to keep the overhead of the association, make minimal cost to our members in terms of registration to webinars and membership in the association, but also that we're allowing scholarships so that if people need finances to engage in our work, it's possible for them. And then the governance, oversight, and board development is a new committee with both governance and cross-cultural. We need to review our bylaws. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a couple of IARSLCE entities that do not have direct line to the board membership, and we need to reevaluate how we're recognizing and including them in conversations. So the governance committee and board development is going to look at the bylaws, look at board terms, different collaborations that we can do to make sure that we are holding true to the social justice mission of IARSLCE and the work we do in governing ourselves as a board. And then we're looking for the governance committee to create a board retreat in Durban. As many people know, this is sometimes the only time we as a board get together, and there's 18 to 20 of us at any given time. And for the one time that we all do meet together, it's often just business. And one thing I've asked the governance committee to do is just reconfigure that. Maybe there's a way we can have a little fun so we can share that out, because we've traveled from far and wide. Why should it all be business? And then just truthfully, just given this moment we're in right now, is embedding social justice, equity, inclusion, and global scholarship through all of our committees, and it not being the ownership of one committee, but it's threaded throughout all that we do in IARSLCE, so that no matter if you're on awards and recognitions, if you're on resource development and membership development, that you're considering social justice, equity, inclusion, and all the work you do, and that we're always making sure that we're inviting our global scholars and global community members into the work and into the conversation that we do. And so these are some of the goals that we've outlined for the board at our board retreat back in January, and we're slowly but surely making some progress on these goals. I welcome your feedback and your insight. Stacy, did I miss anything?
I think you got it all. Thanks, Rochelle.
Wow, thank you so much, Rochelle, for just that wonderful overview. We are just so excited and ecstatic and proud and honored to work under your leadership. We really are looking forward to seeing all of this coming to fruition. So thank you, Rochelle and Stacy. And Rochelle did a great job at kind of giving a preview of what you're about to hear about next. And that's actually our committee representatives today. And so we're going to transition actually first to this crew likes to have a lot of fun. I would say, and that is our awards and recognition group. And so I would ask David and Drew if they would like to take over the Zoom floor and give our participants an opportunity to learn more about the work that you're doing and how they can be involved.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Tammy. I've never been accused of having too much fun, so I appreciate the designation. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is a pleasure to see folks here with us today. My name is Drew Pearl. I use he, him pronouns, and I am an assistant professor of leadership and community engaged learning at Kansas State University's Staley School of Leadership. And together with my friends Nicole Springer and David Malone, have the privilege of co-chairing the Awards and Recognitions Committee. So we, merry band of three, are working together to help shepherd 8 different awards to recognize really excellent work. We're all doing work at our various institutions and the communities that we work with in just our broader communities, and we want to find ways to help celebrate that work. So the idea is for us to present these awards in 8 different categories: distinguished career, early career, publication of the year, dissertation, international research, community outcomes and impact, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and public scholarship. In these different categories, we not only want to celebrate the amazing work that's being done, but help tell brand new audiences about the work that IARSLCE is doing, so we can continue to grow and expand our network.
Excellent. I want to say a little bit about, I'm David Malone, he, him, his. I'm at Duke University. And as Drew mentioned, Drew, Nicole Springer, and I are triple co-chairs of awards and recognition. We have a small committee. We have 5 other folks that serve on the committee, and we're here today to recruit you if you're interested in awards and recognitions. We have a process, as you might have seen in the newsletter or on the website. March 23rd is the deadline for nominations. All that is explained on the IARSLCE website, the process, and we'll be taking those nomination packets and reviewing them and then distributing those packets to reviewers. That's part of the work of the committee. So if you're interested in reviewing nominations for awards, we'd be happy to have you. Before we get to awards, one of our biggest challenges is getting nominations. So we'd really encourage you to nominate folks at your institution or in your networks. One of the questions we often get is, do you have to be an active member of IARSLCE to be nominated for award? And the answer to that question is no. So we'd love to have, we typically have 3 or 4 nominations in the 8 awards. We'd like to have more. And some years we have difficulty even getting 1 or 2 in certain categories. So we really want to encourage you to share this information with your networks. We were asked to say a little bit about what we've been working on. So other than the awards, we work with the Grad Student Network to help them with their processing of scholarship funds, thanks to Matthias and others in that Grad Student Network. This year, we're also going to be looking more closely at conflict of interest and having a clearer statement of the ways in which people might consider recusing themselves from being reviewers or other ways in which there might be unintentional conflicts of interest. We're going to be working on that this year. And we look forward to having some of you join us. And I guess at the end, Cammie will explain a way to do that. Now, Drew, you got a couple other things to say, I think.
I do. Now we are just really looking forward to getting this process underway and bringing folks in as a way to reinforce what IARSLCE is all about. As folks have mentioned, we are in really difficult times, and we think it's important for us as an association overall to stick to the things that are important to us and to have the awards that we give out reflect those values as well. So as we think about putting in nominations, we know that this work sometimes is even more difficult to elevate on our campuses for a whole host of reasons. So if IARSLCE can be a vehicle to help folks celebrate their work, we want to provide that pathway for folks.
One last thing, comment I'd like to make is we often, as Drew just said, we often think of these of awards as just celebrations of individuals or teams of scholars who have produced a certain product or worked on a certain project. And they're really more, in some ways, a mechanism for sharing the values and the aspirations of our organization as a whole, and lifting up people who value those aspirations and values. So again, we look forward to folks who might want to join us, and we'll probably have a Zoom committee meeting maybe the week of March 24th when we distribute some of the nomination packets. So thanks so much, Cammie, for providing us a little bit of time for this. And we are the most fun committee. That goes without saying, I think.
Thank you, David and Drew, so much for giving such a wonderful overview. And yes, feel free to put your contact information or any other helpful links or tools in the chat if you would like right now. Please do. To continue on with the committees, Stacy, would you like to give a quick update in regards to governance and board development?
I'd be happy to. Yes. Hi, everyone. Stacy Muse. I am at UC Davis and serve as the vice chair currently under Rochelle. And I also co-chair the board governance committee. As Rochelle shared earlier, we've recently merged that committee with the cross-cultural equity committee. So I co-chair along with my colleague Hector, who cannot be here today. So I will do my best to fill in for him. But a little bit about our committee. In short, we are tasked with ensuring global inclusion and board effectiveness by promoting equity, supporting international membership, overseeing board compliance with bylaws, and organizing board member recruitment, orientation, ongoing training. We are a fun committee, but maybe it's not as fun as the awards committee. Maybe we're a close second. We also advise on policies and procedures, so we're upholding organizations' global mission. So we focus on several key areas. One is developing and implementing an annual equity plan to promote inclusion and diversity across the association. We look forward to facilitating multilingual submissions to the IARSLCE journal and expand global outreach participation in activities, as well as increasing diversity on the board and committee membership. and ensuring alignment with our equity values. And then also overseeing board compliance. Like I said, with bylaws, we do regular reviews, updates to policies and procedures, things like that. And then we also manage the board election, reappointment processes, and support on committee structures. So lots of fun infrastructure things that both Hector and I feel like are fun. Over the past year, we've done a lot of what I touched on, revising bylaws, managing election processes. We've drafted an equity plan, and we look forward to implementing that over the next year. And some of our key metrics that you can look forward to for this year as we implement the equity plan are increasing diversity in award nominations and ensuring representation from underrepresented regions, ensuring at least 30% of our events feature international perspectives and offer a multilingual accessibility. That one may take a little bit more time to implement. And we also look forward to establishing at least 3 new international partnerships each year to co-develop relevant resources. We have more metrics and we're happy to share that. But in the interest of time, I'll just give you kind of that quick highlight and overview. And of course, in addition to these things, we'll continue to manage the election process, look at bylaws, policies, et cetera. And in terms of our next meeting and how to get involved, we don't have our next meeting set yet, but Hector and I are going to connect next week to map some of that out for the year. I will put our email addresses in the chat, and you're welcome to email either of us, both of us, if you are interested in joining our committee. And I think that is it.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, you put the fun in order. So I appreciate your committee. In a lot of ways, y'all are the heartbeat in regards to the behind the scene work that's needed to keep an organization like this moving forward in an equitable way. So thank you so much for your wonderful overview. And it's a really great transition actually to our next committee, which I would say is the Voice for Emerging Scholars. And that is Matthias. That's representing Grad SN. So Matthias, would you like to
Yes,
take over?
thank you,
Awesome.
Cami. So first of all, sharing and sending my solidarity with scholars in the US right now, in a moment of political intervention of universities in this authoritarian government. It's and I appreciate making time to be here. I think it's the only way to get some hope is by being with other people. It's the only way to get strength. So I'm Matias Flores. I'm from Chile. I'm a PhD candidate at Cornell University. I'm also chair of the graduate student network of IARSLCE, which is a space open, it's a community of graduate students or people that is thinking about getting or entering to grad school, or also early career scholars that graduate recently and are struggling into this challenge of getting into the job market and the university. It is a community really special because trying to create a research design and getting into the scholarship of community engagement and service learning is really challenging, and there are few programs that can host you and uh, understand what you're trying to do. And here you will find people that it's not, you won't have, you don't have to add that extra layer of explaining what you're doing is important, and you can get support right away in terms of how to conduct your research. And I think that's really unique, and for me it's been everything in terms of understanding the the reach that my research can have, and also collaborating with other people. So what we do we meet monthly. We have a meeting every month, the first week of the month. We have 4 committees. One is professional development, so where we offer spaces as workshops and events like the dissertation dish, which is something that is also organized collaboratively with others. And now we're gonna try to organize peer-to-peer spaces, which will be kind of a co-mentoring conversations. Actually, the first one is we're gonna announce it soon. It's gonna be trying to understand the impact of this change of administration in the U.S. to the field of community engagement. We have a membership and communications committee where we are organizing a newsletter, a listserv, and also a blog post that comes every month our website, the IARSLCE website. The we also have a conference committee, so we are organizing a series of events during the conference that are related with grad students. We're also offering grad students a scholarship for them to attend, and that is both for people now in South Africa and out of South Africa, so we can have a broader participation. And also we have the mentoring committee, which is our flagship, is the mentoring program, which is that has been going on for years now, and we match grad students with mentors in our field. So this is a space both if you are a grad student, but also if you are you want to be a mentor for new students, that will be a great opportunity for you to be involved in our work. Currently, our main goals is to promote a global dialogue on community engagement and service learning. We have been doing that. For example, last year, we organized the first dissertation dish that was bilingual. We had simultaneous translation. We've been also promoting collaborative research, one of them through the IARSLCE conferences that now got published as a paper looking at the research methods on the dissertation in the last 5 years. That was a work that we've been doing with several colleagues in the grad ascent. And just to get you a feel how successful have we've been in this global dialogue. This year, we've been having in our meetings participants from Japan, India, Ecuador, Chile, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, the USA, and the UK. So it is truly an international space, and you are more than welcome to participate in any possibility. Our next meeting will be April 2nd. I will put the information in the chat and my email if you want to participate.
Thank you so much, Matthias, for your leadership and growth and development in the graduate student space. We really appreciate all you've provided for emerging scholars. And this is a group that's continuously growing, and it's only going to continue under your leadership. So thank you so much for all the opportunities that are being provided. Next up, it actually is a continuation of thinking about capacity building and outreach and engagement in the field, and that is our membership and resource development committee. And Rochelle is actually going to step in and give an overview of that on behalf of our committee chair. So I transition it back to you, Rochelle.
Thank you, Cami. Yes, I'm stepping in for both Chris Nive and George Luke, as well as Tamara Johnson. So they're unable to attend, but just know that we combine both membership development and resource development into one committee, essentially, to both help plan and create sustainable ways that we grow our membership, not just through individual memberships, but also through sponsorships and collaborations with different associations. And so they've been developing long-term goals to increase our funding, as well as looking at the value proposition of IARSLCE and what that looks like for individual members, both in the US and also globally, and how we can leverage that to deepen our partnerships across the globe, and really increase the ways that we're outreaching, marketing, and communicating to our membership in a way that's sustained and that is reasonable for them as well, and for you as well. So I think their next meeting is April 7th. I feel like I read that on one of their notes. April 7th at 10 a.m. I'm going to hand it to the mysterious IARSLCE that's posting in the chat to send you their emails, but they're around if you would like to meet with them, or you can also send me an email as well. But they're also a very fun group because they're very active in all the things in all the associations. So you've probably seen George at all the places, as well as Chris and Tamara. And so just ping one of them. They are definitely looking for ways to increase our membership value proposition and ways for us to just deepen our proposition for you as members to stay engaged beyond the conference. So that's the recap I got for you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. That was a good recap. Also, yes, Mysterious IARSLCE is Tiana. Thank you so much for keeping the chat going with all the information behind the scenes. And we're going to continue on with our groups. We're almost done with our committees. We're transitioning to scholarship and publications. And as the theme has been shared throughout this conversation thus far, especially in the climate that we're in right now, it's important to encourage sharing out our scholarship and our initiatives and our programs and our projects. And one outlet for that is through publication. And so I'm very happy to transition to my colleagues, Susan and Carmen, who will give you an overview in regards to how you can get involved with scholarship and publications.
Thank you, Tammy. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone here today. My name is Susan Harris, and I'm the director of the Joint Educational Project at the University of Southern California, and have served on the board for a few years, and this year am co-chairing the Scholarship and Publication Committee with Carmen and with Morgan Lewing. This committee, based on what's on our website, we work with other committees and with the board and with our members to make recommendations about scholarship and publication strategies, both liaising with the International Journal for Research on Service Learning and Community Engagement, which is IARSLCE's primary publication outlet, but also other publication opportunities like the blog that IARSLCE hosts. There's also a blog feature with the journal. So this committee works with other entities within the organization to try to make recommendations for that. We also support the work of the IARSLCE editorial team. For the last couple of years, the senior editor of the journal has a seat on the board to help to facilitate communication between what's happening with the board and the organization and what's happening on the editorial team to make sure those two organizations are in sync. And so Morgan, who is the senior editor of the journal this year, is a part of this committee as well as part of the board. We also just try to find ways to seek to support our members in scholarship and publication. And the last couple of years, this committee has been involved in promoting a lot of different conference presentations. We had an ad hoc group that was formed from this committee that was looking at journals in the field to try to understand which journals focus on which particular things. And actually at the upcoming conference, the committee is sponsoring a panel of editors of different journals in the field who will come and talk about their particular journals, the review process, publication process, just to give a little more insight about how different entities and organizations are approaching scholarship and publication in the field. We have supported webinars in the past. IARSLCE had a webinar last spring, which we might ask IARSLCE to repost because I think it's still relevant, that tries to kind of peel back the window on the review process and publication process for IARSLCE in particular, just to help potential authors understand the process, what they can expect, and make it a little less mysterious, especially given the fact that our field is so diverse and people come from so many different academic disciplines that trying to figure out the pathway to publication in this field sometimes is a little bit less than transparent. So that webinar is really intended to make it more so. I think our goals for moving forward, as Rochelle mentioned, the conference committee and the responsibilities of organizing the conference has really been distributed across the entire board. And I think what we, as the Scholarship and Publications Committee, will be taking on is trying to develop themes for upcoming conferences, starting with the 2026 conference, and helping to support the review process by developing review criteria and rubrics for reviewers to approach that and provide helpful support. Likewise, we are always seeking reviewers for the journal, and the Scholarship and Publications Committee can both serve as reviewers for the journal and find ways to provide training and support for that process. What else have we got going on this year? You know, sometimes we liaise with other committees. Sometimes the awards committee, for example, for the award for publications, our committee, which is tuned into publications, sometimes make recommendations or nominations for that. We've worked sometimes with Grad Student Network to organize events. Sometimes with special programming. Special programming has tentacles in a lot of different committees, I'd say. And we will, as a committee, figure out what some of our goals are as well to report back to the board and hopefully in general support scholarship and publication. So we do have a meeting scheduled. It will be Thursday, March 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And if you'd like to be a part of this, I welcome you to join. You can either email any of the committee members. Let me paste that in here. Did I do that? You can either email us, and I think there's also a form that IARSLCE has for posting interest in any of the committees, and maybe Tiana will post that for all of us. But feel free to email me or any of us, and we'd be happy to get you involved in the committee, whether or not you can make the meeting in a couple of weeks. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan, for all your work and leadership in this. And there's a lot going on in the chat. Thank you so much for all the information that you're sharing. And before we transition to the next portion of the conversation we're having today in the town hall, which will be the conference, we want to talk about the last committee, which is the special programming committee, which I represent in partnership with my dear colleague, Emily Fopp. And so a little bit about the special programming committee is it's really dedicated to shaping the association's vision for professional development and community engagement beyond the conference. So we're always thinking about how can we book in the conference and continue the momentum in regards to the work and the themes that come through in the conversation that we have. And so this committee really focuses on fostering ongoing opportunities for members to connect, to build community, which is really critical right now, really thinking about how do we enhance our competencies in the field, and also how do we apply our expertise to advance a lot of things that you've heard about today thus far, from scholarship to practice in the field. And so some key initiatives in regards to the special programming committee that's under the purview of the umbrella, as I would like to say, of special programming, is that we have our practitioner scholar community, which is led by Becca Berkey. But I know one of our committee members, Rose, is here. So if you have questions, you can ask Rose in the chat. She is very involved in the practitioner scholar community. And then that really focuses on bridging theory to practice. And then, of course, we have our global research agenda, which we will have Nicole Webster be involved in a little bit further over this next year, which is really exciting. That's really focusing on the international collaboration on pressing research priorities. And then, of course, we have Dissertation Dish. Thank you to Tiana for posting that in the chat, as well as Matthias sharing information about Dissertation Dish. But this is a wonderful collaboration and partnership with IARSLCE, as well as Give Pulse and Lead California. And in a lot of ways, it builds on supporting emerging scholars in the field. And so these webinars are open for anyone, all audiences, from seasoned scholars in the field to practitioners, to graduate students, undergraduates. It could be journal editors, conference organizers who are looking for emerging scholars in the field to have an opportunity to present on their work, which is really important. So we really try to provide this platform for recent doctoral recipients to share their work. So I'll put my contact information in the chat. If you are interested or know someone that may be interested in presenting their work, we can definitely connect you with the right channels so that you can have that opportunity. The next Dissertation Dish is actually Monday, April 14th, and it's from 1:30 to 3 Central Time. And what's exciting about this is actually one of our special programming committee members who's going to be presenting on her work, and that's Stephanie Brewer from Michigan State. She's going to be focusing on academic community engaged learning and student mental health and wellness. So understanding the lived experience of undergraduate students and their mental health and wellness opportunities. So if you're interested, please go to that. You will have access to recordings as well with Dissertation Dish. In regards to our goals for us, we really want to make sure that our programming is aligned with not only the mission of IARSLCE, but also the needs of the field. And that's why spaces like this are really critical to us. We really want to make sure that as we're thinking about how we keep the momentum going with professional development and support, that it is aligned with the needs. And so that's where conversations and surveys and different programming is really critical to us. And one way that we have listened to the field and have been transparent about programming is last spring, where we launched a research webinar series that focused on the nuts and bolts of engaged scholarship. And based on feedback from our conference in 2024, we will continue with that focus with launching a webinar series in the fall that is going to focus on demystifying engaged research with a particular focus on best practices and common methodologies that can be implemented by faculty and community partners, and bringing the community partners and faculty to talk about their work with engaged scholarship. So the field guides us in a lot of ways in regards to how we move and shift, but we are always focused on the overarching theme and mission of IARSLCE in regards to our work in professional development and building the competencies of our members, which is really critical to us. And if you're interested in joining us, we will not have a meeting in April because, as many of you know, there's just a lot of conferences that are about to happen right now, and a lot of folks in our committee are just going to be spread out over the country. But our next meeting will actually be May 6th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And typically our meetings fall on the first Tuesday of each month. And then in the summer, we kind of give folks a break. But I will make sure to put my emails and Emily's email in the chat. Just so you know, with the committee, we like to meet on Zoom monthly and really just work together and collaborate with not only ourselves, but other committees to plan and implement programming. And we really rely on our committee members to help us think about outreach and engagement. So if that's a space for you where you like to brainstorm and think about what's happening in the field and then implement it into practice, then please join us. We're always looking for new and familiar faces in this space. And that is an overview of special programming committee and concludes the committee updates. If you have any questions, please use the chat. But I just want to thank all the committee representatives who are here that gave great updates and overviews of all the work that we're doing. There's a lot that's happening, as you can see, in IARSLCE space, and there is a space for you to be engaged, wherever that pathway may be for you. With that being said, I'm going to transition to the conference now and roll it back to Rochelle. I keep passing back to Rochelle, but she's the chair. And so with Rochelle and also Stacy, Tiana, this is an opportunity for you to share any important updates with our participants in regards to the 2025 conference, which is very close. The way time is moving right now. So, Rochelle?
Yeah, so I'm back again. So yes, the conference is happening. It seems like it's happening really close because we just closed the portal for submission. So thank you to everyone that took the time to review the abstract, connected to our theme, and submit a proposal. We were able to receive 153 proposal submissions, well above all of our 4 categories of what we were looking to grab. And so right now, we as the board and of our reviewers, we are now making those final reviews, and we're gonna have to make a tough decision. And I think I saw Dan in the Zoom crowd of how to organize our conference schedule. And so thank you so much for promoting, taking time to submit. It's gonna be a really great conference. I think the theme of just celebrating a quarter century of impact, reflecting on our mission and charting our future forward is gonna be really great for some great conversations. And really given the current climate, as Matthias mentioned, what's happening in higher ed, or just in general in the US, I'm really hoping to learn from our global partners. And so what's great is that we're offering up a lot of community time for people at the conference to kind of sit and connect and really lean into what IARSLCE is known for at the conference is networking. And so I really look forward to those opportunities to just sit and chat with members, bring back some new ideas of like, how do we manage this kind of organized chaos that we're all kind of under. And if you're not sure where the conference is, it is happening in Durban, South Africa from August 13th through the 15th at Coastlands Uhlanga Hotel. It will be both the conference location, conference location and the hotel. And we have organized a discount with the rooms as well. And so be sure to make sure you do your reservations as soon as possible and register for the conference. I think that was all I had on the conference. Is there anything specific folks want to know? It's winter in Durban during that time, so don't bring your bathing suits. Bring your jackets, windbreakers. That's all I got, Cammie.
That's really important though, the weather, because
Yeah.
you want to have the right coats and jackets with you. You want to be warm.
Yeah, it's like 75 degrees, so it's not freezing, but
Oh,
they
okay.
definitely call it the warmest city in South Africa. That's like their tagline, so it's warm-ish. Just be prepared to layer. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the conference or anything you've heard from the committees? I just want to see, and you can use the chat or the raise your hand piece if you have any questions before we transition to the last portion of our event. All right. Well, our committees did do a great job with giving an overview. So thank you all so much for that. This is the last piece of the conversation today. And as we kind of have alluded to, this is quite an interesting time to be in a space of higher education, just education in general. And so on behalf of the IARSLCE board, we had our meeting last week and we had a conversation, and we thought it would be important to take a moment in this space as a collective to acknowledge the challenging times that we're experiencing in higher education, but also just our field of community engagement right now. I know all you probably are familiar with seeing the impact of recent legislation bans and executive orders, and we're learning a lot every day of its impact towards all of us, both professionally, but also personally. So as many have said today, being in this space is so important, especially a space that's focusing deeply on collective action work and community building. So we wanted to make sure that we provide some time today to connect and do a check-in with you and just have a conversation to see how you may be feeling, what may be occurring in your region or your state, ways in which folks are supporting each other. I think that what Rochelle was saying, I think it's really important, learning from our colleagues in this field as to how they're connecting and standing in line with each other and supporting each other, things that we should be aware of around the collective action work. But I think the last piece, and this is something we were talking about as a board, is how can IARSLCE be of assistance during this time? And so I'm asking a lot of things, but these are just different things you can just simmer on and think about. But should we provide more conversations? I know one thing we're thinking about is making sure that we have job listing updates just to support our colleagues that are going through transitions in their roles. But we just want to see and hear from you, how can we leverage this space during these times that we're experiencing right now? So, Rochelle, did I cover everything? Is there anything else that just making sure?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you got it. The floor is open.
Yeah.
Welcome a space for people to just share.
Yeah. And you can just unmute. It's a smaller group, so. So just to reiterate some of the questions as you're thinking is, being in a space, how can we leverage our community here in IARSLCE? How can IARSLCE assist and engage and support during this process right now? But also, if you just want to share how you're feeling with everything, that's fine too. This is a safe space also. Yeah, Stephen?
Yes, I'd like to add my little bit to this conversation. I'm Stephen Chen from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, and I have been in IARSLCE for quite a number of years. In fact, I'm still sitting on the board. While I have been on the board, I have been concentrating my efforts into, in a way, help IARSLCE to become more international, true to its initial of the I, the being international. I'd like to point out one thing. I'm now in actually Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, but we are in the same time zone with Hong Kong, and it is like 4:45 a.m. So it's kind of a good morning to everyone. That illustrates part of our difficulties as you know, to become part of the global community, because at this point in time, most of our colleagues in the region are, you know, in bed. It's not. If you look around the participants in this activity, you don't see too many from our region. That is part of the reason why. Now let me just come back to what I've been trying to do at IARSLCE in the past few years. My efforts have been mostly into developing, cultivating a regional network that we call ourselves Asia Pacific Community of Practice. And I think that's, I have to give thanks to Susan, who brought up the idea of you know, me getting more involved in IARSLCE, and I thought, oh, why not? Like, you know, and I made it my mission to join the board, to bring our region closer to IARSLCE despite all the challenges, and also to bring IARSLCE closer to our region. Exciting things are happening. Like the reason why I'm in Malaysia at this moment is I'm here together with my colleague, Dr. Grace, who is actually my boss. I'm running a staff development workshop for a university here, who has basically made the commitment to make service learning a requirement for all their undergraduate students, and that means around 6,000 each year. So, and that is not just one university. In fact, in January, we were in the Philippines running something very similar to this, helping yet another university to implement service learning across the board, and they are even bigger than this one. And so that's some of the exciting things happening in the region. In fact, the Asia Pacific Community of Practice have been running a set of webinars for the past several years, introducing each country to the region and connecting with people. And last December, we held our first regional conference in Hong Kong, and we were the host. Our university was the host. And while we were organizing that conference, that conference was actually we call ourselves the IARSLCE Asia Pacific Community of Practice Conference. And in parallel with that, our university organized yet another conference at the same time, in the same venue, same hotel, a national China conference on service learning. And the two conferences together attracted more than 200 people. In fact, I think it might be closer to 300. And so that's the kind of an indicator of what is happening in our region. And we are happy that we are making some progress into building up a regional group and linking that closer to IARSLCE. So I think it is obvious what IARSLCE might be able to help us, which is like to come to the region more often, like, help us with your expertise, because many of us are building up their program, trying to expand their program. Many universities actually have a long history of community service, volunteer work, and now they want to upgrade the academic quality of what they are doing, making it more truly academic service learning, and we need a lot of help in the region. So that's really kind of a report of the status, and also of an appeal for help from IARSLCE. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. If folks are interested in connecting with you, would you be willing to share any contact information? Would that be possible in the chat?
Yes, of course.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Stephen. Yes, and we've made a lot of notes, especially in regards to the regional updates and thinking more deeply in regards to the I in IARSLCE. And there was definitely some comments in the chat that connect with that as well. And we are definitely mindful of being a little more inclusive in regards to the timing of our events and programming, and really thinking about, with the programming that we do, how do we make sure that we're having inclusive voices in this space. So thank you very much, Stephen, for that. And I think that's one reason why under Rochelle's leadership that there's a transition to the conference being in South Africa this year, is creating that space for colleagues in different regions that typically can't come to the US to be able to attend this conference as well. So thank you, Stephen, for bringing that to our attention.
But by the way, I would like to make one more point. We are very excited to see the conference taking place in South Africa later this summer. In fact, we would like to bring IARSLCE, the main conference, to Asia sometime in the future. Maybe even Hong Kong. We're very happy to host it. Well, Rochelle and Stacy, I hope they okay, I see thumbs and hearts. That's exciting. Thank you, Stephen. That's awesome. Fantastic. Okay, cool. I see Rose. Your hand is up. Hey, Rose.
Hi, thanks. My name's Rose Wedemeyer, and I happily serve on the Special Programming and Scholarship and Publications Committees. They are lots of fun, so we are probably in competition for the most fun committees. So definitely encourage anyone interested to check out the links that were shared in the chat. I'm also involved now in the practitioner scholar cohort community, and I'm so happy to see some of their cohort mates in the session today. That's exciting. I wanted to share that I had a conversation with some international colleagues, and we'll be having another one tomorrow. And I prefaced a similar topic by saying that I hope that by offering space, it didn't seem that it was too US centric. And what one of the participants shared, and so I don't want to say it blew my mind, but just like the disconnect for me, that I hadn't even considered that impact. So we were talking about, some of the administrative directives that are very challenging for us who work in higher education in the US, and how we're trying to manage those. And what this partner shared was that they internationally are seeing the effects of the US aid cuts, and in particular for nonprofit agencies. And I just hadn't even considered the impact. I knew it was happening, I knew it was international, but there was still, it still felt very far from me. And so I do wonder if there might be some ways that IARSLCE can, in whatever way, I don't know how that would look, but just to provide some support to maybe those nonprofit members who are impacted. And I know that's something that's definitely going to be on my radar from now on. Thanks.
No, thank you, Rose, for your comment. I think I just was looking at LinkedIn and I didn't realize Fulbright funding was also being cut. And so in addition to USAID, we certainly need to consider our nonprofit partners, because many of us are doing research with partners who are receiving federal government funding. And so we certainly need to be creative and mindful of how we're continuing this work, and how do we maybe do some strategic partnerships where we can support through research grants of some sort, or some sort of funding that we can offer. Maybe not as immediate, but we certainly need to think strategically, how can we fill a gap or two in doing this work? So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Rose. Okay, Shalona? Oh, sorry.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for this this town hall meeting today. And just to put in, I guess, my 2 cents coming off of what Rochelle just said, and Rose as well, is that adding 2 things. So Gladys and we had a meeting earlier today, and we were sort of discussing the effects of what's happening in the US and how it's affecting different persons all around the world. And, I just would like to put in that, I guess, for my personal experience as an early career scholar, having recently graduated in this particular field, it's a field that a lot of the work and research comes from the US, and a lot of the financial support for whether it's a grant funding, postdoc, even jobs, comes from US settings. So it really is a rippling effect around the field, even outside of the US. So that is something that definitely we do feel around the world. And I would say for myself, as someone who's recently graduated, and I had early plans of what's going to happen when I graduated, it's now somewhat scary trying to figure out, okay, so where am I going to go now? Like, my research is, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and very much so what happens in the US quickly trickles down into the Caribbean and Latin American region. So we usually get hit really quickly with what's happening. So it's somewhat kind of scary to be like, okay, so what now? What's next? Especially for me as a recently graduated early career scholar, what do I do next? Do I need to pivot in my career? Do I need to consider another field, even though this is my field? What do I do now? How do I resell myself in a quote unquote less problematic type of language format? Because as I was explaining to some of my friends who are not familiar with the field, a lot of what we do in community engagement and service learning falls under what's in the US as DEI. And now, even when I'm sending out applications or looking at jobs or even, I guess, my publications, I have to be very careful with the choice of words that I use, because I almost feel like certain terms are targeted, social justice, inclusion, all these things. And if that is the language that is generally used and is now being targeted, what do people outside of the US space, how do we frame our work and the language that we use? Because we also have to be careful in terms of how we share what we do and how we approach what we've been doing. So I really appreciate this space. And just like in the GradSN meeting we had earlier today, it's really nice to know that there is a community that we can share the concerns with and have people who we can sort of be a community of support for each other. So again, I really appreciate IARSLCE and the different committees that make up IARSLCE, and it's really a privilege to be a part of the group. So yeah, that's my little bit to add. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for sharing that and giving us context to just the impact of this globally at this point. Like I shared earlier, I just feel like there's so many layers to this that we're not even, it's not that we're not considering because we're being like selfish. It's just there's just so much around this. And so the more that we hear about it, the more we can connect and start to figure out what are the ways in which we can support each other and build on this collective action work. So the more you share, the more it really will help us really think about how we can be in this space. So thank you so much. I definitely see this theme around the effect around the world and how do you pivot in uncertain times and how do we frame our work? Because I know for me, US hat that I'm wearing, like I'm involved with the Carnegie classification, and one of the things that our institutions are really struggling with right now is reframing a lot of their work right now and how they do it because of the legislation bans that were happening like a year, 2 years ago, but also now with the EOs. So we're seeing it on both sides as well. So I see a theme here about this pivot and reframing. So I just want to acknowledge that and share that I'm seeing this from a national lens in my role as well. So ooh. Other thoughts, comments, things on your mind?
I'd like to share one observation. What is happening in the United States is impacting everybody, as shared just now. Just one little piece of fact: we have collaborators in many countries. In one of the countries in which we are very active, one of our major partners recently had to suspend more than half of the staff because of the collapse of USA. And that's very real, very painful. Some of our friends actually have lost their jobs and they have to switch to another career because of that.
Is anyone hearing of different resources are groups that are coming together to try to respond to what you were just talking about, Stephen, like with jobs. I know like different job boards or listings and things like that. Like what are people seeing around like supporting each other as folks are having to pivot and transition between roles? Is anything out there right now? So maybe that's a space. Matthias?
Yeah, no, it's not that much of a something new. Well, as Shilona mentioned, we at Gradescent we're trying to organize that space. That, by the way, I forgot to mention Trinidad and Tobago, which is where Shilona is from. It's also part of Gradescent. But I will say that IARSLCE is an association of researchers. So we have also an opportunity there in terms of um, trying to promote research that is talking about these kind of things too. And so recently, I remember one of the few articles from non-US settings in our journal. It is talking from a hostile setting in Hungary, and those research uh, consider that as part of their context. Um, my research is based on a socio-historical perspective. I'm looking at the history of this kind of work in my country, in Chile. It's also a history that is not linear in a way that is now everyone is more awake in terms of how to engage with a community in a dialogical or reciprocal relation. It's always a struggle, and for authoritarian governments have been prosecuting engaged scholars as long as it has existed. So there's certain work that we can do in terms of understanding what is happening, and the scope is different. Like you cannot compare what is an authoritarian government it's in other countries with what it means in the US, and the scale and the scope and the implications for the rest of the world. But I think we need more tools and ways to frame and make sense of this, because that will allow us also to see those paths to resistance or hope and collective action.
Yeah, I was taking a lot of notes with what you were saying, Matthias. I think that's really important, the information gathering and educating our colleagues of what's happening. There's a lot of misinformation that is occurring right now. And one of the big pieces, like education, like people need to have the tools, as you said, to frame and understand and make sense. But then also scale and understand how to implement best practices to support each other. There was something in the chat that I thought was really interesting from Patrice about mutual aid for research. And that kind of connects with some of the things that you were talking about, Matthias. Maybe there's a pivot that has to happen there in regards to how research and funding occurs there. And then, Drew, do you mind sharing a little more about this piece that you put in the chat? Like folks are looking for guidance on how to respond.
Yeah, mostly folks through other networks or organizations, or even folks around the institution who are just interested in learning from this community. Kind of what is our place in sort of advocating for the values that we believe in as an organization. Folks looking to take cues from us, I guess.
That's helpful. Thank you. Okay. Advocacy. Anything else? This is really helpful. Like we're keeping track and writing down everything that everyone is sharing right now. And I know we'll be meeting as a board soon and definitely have a conversation about what came up here and what is practical for us in regards to our support at this time. Are there anything else that we haven't covered that anyone would like to share? Want to make sure everyone's heard. Yeah.
I'll just say that, just to echo what
everyone has already said, which is just the importance of networking and having time to meet with your community, your community of scholars, and just and also hearing from everyone just about what would be helpful. So I mean, just asking the question is wonderful, right? Just asking the question like, hey, what do you need, right? What do you need right now? And then knowing that you have some people that you can talk through those things with, and having time to just meet and be together and supporting each other, I think it's great, it's wonderful, and we need more of it just during this difficult time. Right.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah, and we'll definitely consider some other ways in which we can just come together. I feel like in all the spaces I'm in, people are just relieved when we all can connect, whether it's like 3 of us on a call or there's 30 of us. There's just a sigh of relief because this work can feel very isolating at times, especially now. It felt like that prior, but it really feels difficult at this point. And so we need each other. And I think we're the doers in building a community, but the community leaders need community too. And so it's almost like what happens to the strong person, and y'all are the strong people here. And so we have to make sure that we're taking care of each other in this space as well. So, okay, Maria put something in the chat. What about the leadership of the Macy? You were getting together, talk about strategies. Yeah. I don't know. Rochelle, did you? We've kind of talked about this in the past a little bit.
We have, and it's odd. I was just talking to Bobby with Campus Compact, and so I think they're organizing some of this at Compact 25. So if you're going to that, yay, because that's another thing. A lot of people are going to Compact 25, and the Global Research Agenda will be there having a session too. And so if you're part of Truckin', I think they're meeting that Sunday, and they'll have a conversation with senior leadership in the field. But I don't see why we couldn't maybe organize something like this, Maria. I think it's a good conversation to have of how do we all band together to support our members as we protect our scholarship, our practice, and our partnerships in the global community. And so I really do value what Drew said of like people are looking to us. I hadn't dawned on me. And I forget who just said like we are a research institution. Like that is what we do. And so we do have to protect what is core to the mission of IARSLCE as much as we can. And so certainly finding time to meet with other leaders in the field will be certainly helpful. And if you haven't had a chance to meet Elena Keita with Lead California, she's an amazing leader of that kind of Campus Compact organization. So she might be a good person also to tap into. So yes, I can send out some fillers and see if we can have a conversation across leadership to see what our different organizations can do and how do we maybe fill in some gaps or puzzle pieces collectively.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yes, she is retiring, but I think she'll stick around though. And so they never retire. Like, I'm sorry, like all our leaders, they still hover. And that's the beauty of this work, is that we can still lean on them in regards to networking and best practices that we can implement at this time, and kind of fill in that void that people are looking for right now. I really thank you all for just giving us insight in regards to how you're feeling, what you're thinking about, and what can we do. I agree with Rochelle 100%. We have a mission to protect this work more than ever right now. And I think we are cued in and leaning into this. We're not running away from it. And we definitely will consider everything that's been shared and figuring out how we can support our field. That's what we have to do at this point, is protect our work, protect our field, and protect our colleagues at this time. So thank you all. I don't know if there's any additional things that anyone has to say. Rochelle, I don't know if there's any final things you would like to say before we kind of wrap up here.
Only that I apologize. This seemed like the Rochelle show. It's not.
Oh,
no, at all. I
You
was
could
just trying to hang
share.
out. I just trying to encourage you all. But no, it was a really great conversation, and I really appreciate everyone's vulnerability and honesty through the chat and off and through your just Zoom in general. So I think you give us good work to do, but also reaffirm a lot of the stuff we have coming for you as members. So thank you for being engaged, and we look forward to more ways to re-engage you as much as possible in the next few years. So
Yes, thank you so much, Rochelle, for your support and leadership. And just placed in the chat is a way to subscribe to our newsletter. That's the ways that you can stay connected. You can also reach out to us if you have any questions about anything or how to get engaged. One of us will connect with the other people that you need to be connected with. So don't worry about that. Wishing you all the best. If you have other ideas that come to mind post, please let us know. This is not a one-time thing. We're always here to do the work. Yes, Rochelle.
Sorry, I think Matthias had something he wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, Matthias.
Or
Sorry.
did I miss your hand? No, okay, just kidding.
Okay. All right.
Like,
Okay, thank you. Oh, he was waving.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all to our colleagues, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and rest of your semester. And we're here, and we look ready